You guys, I think it's finally safe to say that we have reached one of the most wonderful times of the entire year. And as you probably already guessed what I'm referring to with the title of the video, yes, we're talking about trade season. And if you're somehow one of the few people in the world at this point that don't have either Shams or Woj's Twitter notifications turned on, well, I'll be the first to tell you, you missed out on one of the first major trades of this offseason, as Christian Wood was sent over to the Dallas Mavericks. And yes, I know this isn't necessarily a blockbuster deal by any means, but I can guarantee each and every one of you that there is still so much that can be discussed with this trade, and honestly, at least in my opinion, there are so many different angles to this trade that not many NBA fans are even realizing, so let's just get into it. One sec though guys, if you haven't yet, don't forget to like the video if you do enjoy, subscribe, and turn on those notifications to never miss another NBA video. Love you guys. Because believe me, we will be covering these trades like crazy as they all break out, but also, according to my numbers, over 95% of you guys coming back to watch the content haven't even subscribed yet. So again, a huge thank you to any of you that do, but anyway, let's get back into this trade. And in case any of you watching haven't seen the full trade in detail yet, I will quickly lay this out for you, as the Mavs were able to receive Christian Wood in exchange for Houston receiving the 26th overall pick in this year's draft, alongside players like Boban Marjanovic, Trey Burke, Marquese Chriss, and Sterling Brown. Now, to get some of the basics out of the way, I would think an immediate reaction from all Dallas Mavericks fans would be more so ecstatic than anything, but I also surprisingly saw some skepticism, and don't worry, we'll look at that from both angles. I mean, first things first, a reason to be extremely happy seeing this as a Mavs fan is that your front office is wasting absolutely zero time addressing the biggest issues staring your team in the face throughout your postseason run. And it doesn't take a genius to realize some of these biggest issues involve the size of your overall roster, as well as additional shot creation outside of your top guys. And don't get me wrong, with saying that, I am not trying to diss the Dallas Mavs in any way whatsoever, but after looking back on their tremendous playoff run, it became crystal clear what was standing in the way for this team to be able to get over the hump and become a through and through championship contender. And with this, I'm also not trying to say that Christian Wood is going to be the answer to all their problems, but he definitely won't hurt, and I think we can all confidently say that. Because while there still are rumors flying around about the Mavs potentially being involved in a blockbuster trade down the line, and even with free agency still on the horizon, there are moves they can make there as well, but being able to add a guy like Christian Wood to a already very successfully proven team who is on the expiring year of a 3-year $41 million contract, who we should also mention is coming off of a season averaging 18 points and 10 boards a game, while also shooting 39% from behind the arc. So not only is he adding the size this team desperately needed, but he is also stretching the floor, which is a recipe for success for the Dallas Mavericks. And again, I know they still have an entire offseason to work with and make moves, but when you just take a quick glance into what the potential top 10 of this rotation would look like, the ability to finally have a sizably fit starting rotation, along with Spencer Dinwiddie and Tim Hardaway Jr. possibly coming off of your bench, is something that I think will work absolute wonders for this Mavericks team. And now, what's actually the craziest part to me about this trade that again, not many people consider when looking at it at first glance, is that aside from the Mavs essentially getting Christian Wood for the 26th pick in this year's draft, is that the Mavs were somehow also able to remove 4 completely deadweight contracts that were sitting on their bench. Now, Boban, Trey, Marquese, and Sterling, this isn't a shot at you, it's just that from the perspective of looking at this from the Mavs front office, this was nothing short of a genius move. Because, for quick example, let's just say the whole Christian Wood situation doesn't work out. Say they give it a go at the beginning of the season, they find out it isn't that good of a fit, and they try to deal him off before the deadline next season. Hell, even if he was on the team for the entire season and didn't see the court for a single minute, I would still consider this trade a win for the Mavs. Now, do I imagine that Christian Wood is not going to work out in Dallas? No, at first thought, I think he is a great fit into what they're trying to transition into, but in the grand scheme of things, if it doesn't work out with Christian Wood in Dallas, there are so many different reasons to be happy about this deal. Because for example, when you look at the salaries of all players involved, being Boban Marjanovic, Trey Burke, Marquese Chriss, and Sterling Brown combined, you're looking at them freeing up almost $12 million in cap space, again while receiving a very solid player from an outside perspective that will contribute to what you're trying to do. And whether you look look at it from the perspective of them using this money in free agency to bring in some new guys or even pay Jalen Brunson to stay, or you could even consider the financial wiggle room it gives this team if they were to make a bigger trade that honestly could include Christian Wood. Now I know that to some people watching this, a free up of $12 million in cap space is not going to seem substantial by any stretch of the imagination, and honestly, I mean, it could turn out to be nothing and we could look back on this in a month or so and just laugh at the points I'm making. But as we all know, it's just going to be completely dependent on what the Mavs end up doing throughout this offseason. And also, regarding some of the skepticism that Mavs fans had when they originally saw this Christian Wood trade, a lot of them had to do with the quote-unquote locker room issues that Christian Wood was a part of in his time in Houston in the recent past. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like I knew what was exactly going on within that Houston Rockets locker room, but I mean, I will say, at least in my opinion, that whole Houston Rockets roster and locker room has got to be one of the more interesting combinations of players we see in the entire league. And I'm not going to rule Christian Wood out of what was happening in there, because he did receive a one-game suspension for locker room antics and even refused to play the second half in one of their games last year. But I mean, Mavs fans, I feel like you know more than anyone else what bringing a player into a winning culture can do for both their play and their behavior. And of course, with this, I'm obviously referring to the Spencer Dinwiddie trade last year, and I know it's not the exact same example with what we have in Christian Wood, but I do feel like it's similar to somewhat of an extent. But I mean, we all saw what happened to Spencer Dinwiddie when he went from what was reportedly a toxic locker room to a competent one in Dallas. His production on the court absolutely skyrocketed. And now with Christian Wood's numbers already being solid from last year, and in fact they might even drop with his new role in Dallas if he does stick it out there, just maybe in this case, with Christian Wood finally being thrown into a situation where he is playing on a championship contender for the first time in his career, it will not just be a win for him, but clearly it would be a win for the Mavs overall. But again, looking at it from an overall perspective of the Mavs, clearly they are not done with what they need to do this offseason, but it is a step in the right direction from really any angle that you look at this trade. But now I am extremely curious to hear what you all have to think about this trade, because like I said, the initial reactions on social media were honestly all over the place. So please let me know in the comments, do you think Christian Wood is going to be able to contribute to the highest degree the Mavs are expecting this season? And also, what are some other moves this offseason that you could potentially see the Mavs doing? But again, you guys, if you haven't yet, don't forget to go down below and leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, and of course, subscribe while you're down there. I mean, I personally hope this is the first of many trades we're gonna get, but regardless, we're gonna be covering everything that goes down throughout the course of this offseason, so just believe me when I say it, you do not want to miss out. But also, I just wanted to say thank you so much to each and every one of you for watching. I appreciate all of you guys more than anything. You all know this, and I will see you all in the next video.